I guess the best way to get things started would probably be the simplest of questions and probably the most common of questions here. What, or who rather, is your favorite pony?
Sunset Shimmer, which is not
Mm,
really I mean, technically, but,
mm. Can I get a
yeah, Sunset
serious answer?
Shimmer. That and that's the thing is I
Mm,
feel like some folks are like, "Nah, it doesn't count." When
mm,
I'm like, "Well, technically, she has a pony, and so she's my favorite character from the entire show." But, favorite pony, I mean, from the main 6, I'd say again, this is my weird indecisive nature where, like, my pony OC never had a cutie mark, never will. 'Cause I don't like favorites
yeah.
sometimes. I rarely have, like, an individual favorite thing. But, like, because initially in the fandom, I'm like, "Rainbow Dash, yeah," and then I'm like, "Fluttershy, yeah, okay, she's okay. Rarity, yeah. Twilight, yeah. Applejack." So I'm, like, all over the place. Out of the main 6, I'd probably say Rarity, and
Okay.
then, um, I mean, Starlight's pretty great, but, I mean, to know me trying to be funny, like, to know me, whatever. I'm not trying to be a I was gonna say shit. Is cussing allowed or no? Whatever.
Oh, you can absolutely throw some profanity in there. It's all fine.
To not be a shit poster, I truly think Sunset is just top. I love her. Her redemption arc, who she is as a character, and how she fits so well with the chemistry of the other characters, which I know are human, but you know, still based on the ponies in a way. So whatever. That's my answer. I'm sticking with it. Sunset.
That's good. I mean, that's kinda shocking. I don't think I've expected to get that, nor do I think I'm going to get that answer again. Um, wow, I thought you were just throwing that out there satirically, and I was gonna address it, but you gave good
I
reasons and
mean it.
everything. I'm surprised. That's I mean, that's
I'm
hmm,
I mean it. Rainbow Rocks is probably my favorite thing from the entire franchise, which again is ironic, but I I like the music from Rainbow Rocks top notch, some of the best in the series. I like the character chemistry.
yeah,
I I mean, I'm obviously there's a bunch of wonderful episodes and stories and moments from the pony version of the show,
mhm.
My Little Pony. But I just ended up loving Sunset Shimmer, and I wish we would have gotten more of her before the end, but oh well.
Yeah, Sunset Simmer is, Sunset Sim yeah, she's great. I love her to death. you're trailing the line of almost not pony, but of course, yeah, she's a great character and she fits in, and that's a good answer.
So technically.
Definitely, I don't think I mean, I'm sure you probably answered this before on some public degree, but I think some people might be surprised to learn about that. But that's the easiest question, of course. Everybody's got to ask it. I think that's a rule somewhere. Um, so it is what it is. So you are, of course, very involved in conventions. You love those things to death. They love having you. Are there any conventions that you love going to, whether they're still a thing that's active or not? Anything that really stands out in your mind?
I mean, all these cons have such a different flavor to
Hmm.
them from how they're conducted to the people who are there, and I like that aspect a lot. They have personalities, where Burning Piece being the large legacy convention with how well they ran it like a tight ship. They ran a tight ship. There you go. I think that's the right phrase. And
Sure.
I mean, Baltimore is a very rough around the edges city, and we'd goof on like, "Oh gosh, don't step outside of Baltimore at night." But which is, there's some validity to that with any city convention. You be careful where you walk. I mean, I'm
Sure.
going to MomoCon in Atlanta, my home city, and like at the end of May, and I'm like, there are parts of Atlanta where it's like you do not walk off to by yourself. You stay within where there are people and
Hmm.
lights. But I digress. I'd say like BabsCon coming up next week is a party con. I look forward to seeing that. It's very flamboyant, exciting, wonderful energy in the party hallway, and there's just some chaotic nature about it. I really like. And then Everfree Northwest, that was the con I went to last, like before BabsCon, it was August of last year, and they run themselves very professionally. They have a nice there's order to it. Not to say it crushes out any kind of fun, but you can tell that they also like they seem very professional. That's how I'd say family friendly, professional, a well oiled machine, almost like a kind of reminds me of BronyCon in a way. Though BronyCon was just how many people it had kind of provided a little bit of chaos to it, but still a very good team. And I mean, I can keep going on, but like Cider Fest up in Wisconsin. I mean, there's something about that where the time of the year around October, November, it's nice and cold and autumny, and go up into Milwaukee, and I like the city and like cheese curds, and it's like that feeling of like when it's cold outside, but you put yourself a warm blanket around, you feel kind of like, oh, it insulates me. That's how I feel about that con and people. So yeah, I mean, all these cons have different personalities, and there's that's the entire human element. Lest we forget what are cons, but people, humans gathering up, having fun, dressing up, uh, panels, cosplay contests. It's fun. It's a celebration of culture, and I like that.
Yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And you had mentioned MomoCon,
Hmm.
and Race had mentioned that. I mean, a lot of you guys are kind of interested in branching out and doing more of the multimedia type of stuff. Uh,
Hmm.
is that the only thing you have that fits that in the near future? And how do you kind of feel about doing that sort of thing?
I'm up for it because it's just a new horizon. I've been to MomoCon twice, and it was exciting. I mean, ponies in general, from making content on YouTube, to knowing the ups and downs and behavior of fandoms and its people, and of course conventions like Bernie boot camp. That's what I'll say. The Bernie boot camp, and I'm so grateful for it because
Mhm.
I'll see I'll go to these conventions and I'll see other fandoms, and I'm like, ah, I remember in 2013 when we bronies were going through the same thing, and it's cute. It's cute to see them going, oh, look this craziness. But from Omocon, absolutely, because like to me, I find myself in a place where I'm like, I go to these cons to show my appreciation to my supporters who do show up, put on some panels, hang with my friends, above all else, just goofing with my best friends, finding activities that you wouldn't find typically in a setting in your own city.
Mhm.
It's fun, and MomoCon, I look forward to doing it, going there, putting on a show, seeing all the different other fandoms and people and cosplay and whatnots. And I hope that more multi-genre cons invite me. And while at the same time, I'm totally down for doing more pony conventions too. Like I'm not like it has to be one or the other. I love doing both. I love getting out into the world and seeing things. Obviously, it's been on pause for a moment, but things are starting to hopefully improve, and we'll see where it goes.
Heck yeah, and hopefully they do improve, and it definitely seems to be the case that they are.
Right.
Um, a lot of people will go to these conventions, and like I had mentioned with you in our conversation beforehand, they might have adversity or maybe issues in their own life where they will look at conventions as an opportunity to go and feel safe and be able to be themselves. And that might not even relate to the adversity that exists in the real life. That just might be something that they look forward to. Was there any that aspect going on with you when you would go to cons?
Absolutely. I mean, when I went to these conventions, uh, 2012 was my first one with BronyCon in Jersey, and to go there, and I think there were a lot of folks who were in the same, I'd say, like realm of life, and well, maybe think where it's like, okay, I'm done with college, and what's next? And this pony stuff,
Mhm.
also seeing the explosion of online culture was, I mean, it was alluring to be like, yeah, bronies, let's do it. It's the next, and going to BronyCon, seeing how people were on cloud nine, just, I mean, that it was electrifying seeing all the folks there, how hyped they were. I've never seen a more hyped up con than BronyCon, like 2012. None.
Yeah.
It was unreal. And to go there and make friends, meet people who would become my lifelong friend. Um, my girlfriend, like I'm with right now, she was even at that con. I had no idea, to think a
Hmm.
person who would cross my path years later in such a profound way was there. Didn't know, and yeah, it was such it turned my world upside down. And and this is of course like I don't know what to do after school. Why do I go to college? What am I doing next? But there was something very reassuring about going to these pony conventions, and it was such an outlet to do art, to make videos, to act silly, to do panels and meet people you never would have met in traditional ways. I wouldn't see these people in my town. I wouldn't I would my town or my because at that time I lived in like suburban Georgia. And of course, like Atlanta has all kinds of fun conventions and people, but like for me, it felt like a safe harbor with Bernie stuff where I get to meet some very exotic people
Hmm.
from all these walks of life, and the common thread was just we love the hell out of ponies and keep having fun, and that was nice.
Of course.
It was a very warm feeling to be like, let's do it, let's have fun.
Heck yeah. And I'm glad you had mentioned how exhilarating it could be to be at these conventions and how exciting they were. And I think that's a
Mm,
great tie-in for. Um, I was watching through Race's old vlogs. That used to be something that really meant a lot to me. Watching those, and at the time, especially early on, before I was young enough to travel, I got to feel like I was a part of those conventions. There was one in particular. I think it might have been Equestria LA, where Lauren got to meet Bonnie Zachary, the original creator of My Little Pony, for the first time.
yeah.
And they came out on stage and did this big performance. And Race is sitting there recording it. And he looks over to the right, and you're just sitting there on your DS, just playing a game, not even paying attention to what's going on. I mean, the excitement level was really there for you. And that was awesome to see.
I was so overwhelmed that my shut off. I there are moments like that where, like, I mean, it's so interesting how leading up to events we can be like, yes, 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 and sometimes like when it happens, you almost like recoil from overstimulation, and you
Yeah.
kind of like need to like curb it. Um, I'm guilty of that. Where like right now, I can't wait to see Race next week, and I can't wait to go to Babs and goof off, but I know that when I first see him, I'll be like, "Race, give him a hug," and be like, "Okay, well, what's next?" And I'll seem very steady with my voice and my behavior, but then it'll start to crack, start to act an idiot and drink and goof up and go nuts. But like there are moments where it's not always like at 100%. So like, and also I think like I mean, it was a cool moment seeing Bonnie and Lauren because I know that Lauren thinks the world of Bonnie. Cool to seeing the like the grandmother of and then the mother of ponies
Yeah.
stage, but yeah, I mean, it's been a journey, and there are moments where it's like it was a really important level. I had to beat it. I don't even know what game it would have been. Maybe be I don't know, Advanced Wars. I don't know what the hell I was playing. Must have
I
been
don't know.
important though.
Must have been important for sure. And I've noticed that with a lot of what you do, especially in like the Bronies reacts, where at first you very start off as I might even describe it as reserved or just a little bit um, unaffected, and then as the content continues to progress, you definitely seem to be a little bit more evolved, a little bit more emotional about the content. I'm not sure if that's intentional at all, but like the last
Mm.
episode, for example, you guys had done, Race had mentioned that you might have, and you might even have mentioned it, that you teared up a little bit when you had originally watched it, but this time around, you had like Jack's Blade in the corner here, um, mulling his heart out, and you on the other side, being like a contrast to that. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, Jack's always crazy. He's a bitch.
mm,
I love him. He's one of my best friends. But I mean, I guess to me, um, my emotions manifest in weird ways. And yeah, when the series ended, I was like, that because I watched the first time and I was like, wow, it's over. It almost felt like I was in shock. And the
yeah.
second time I watched it, I cried. And then the third time, I was like, no, I have to like have a go at all the guys who are gonna be crying, call them babe. Out of love, of course, because
Of
as
course.
friends do, we have to jab each other and goof. But I don't know. There are moments where I also feel like I could do more with Brony's React. It almost becomes a bit like a job and and expected of, but which is I need to be better. I need to bring more to the table because I mean like Viva joined the ranks a few years back and she's fantastic. Viva's unreal,
Yeah.
brilliant. and you see all the excitement that people bring to the table. And sometimes I feel like I'm just going through the motions, and then I'm like, no, I gotta be better. So like when you make video content, like I do content weekly. I mean, there's not a day that goes by where I'm not videos. And sometimes when you do it so often, it becomes,
Mm.
I guess, just second nature,
Yep.
and also not as sexy, which makes me feel bad when it comes to racing this content where I'm like, "I gotta do better." Like, I 'cause I'm usually the last person to submit his footage, and I'm like, "Man, I put 2 jokes in there." And then when I watch Bernie's react, when it finally is put together, I'm like, "Damn it, I should have tried more. Could have been better." I don't know. That's just my vibe. I tried harder on the last one for the G5 reaction. I did a little Hobbit parody where I was like Bilbo Baggins at the start of the Hobbit movies, which, all 3 people in the audience probably enjoyed, or all 3 people in the audience who got that joke enjoyed. But, I got a kick out of it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Um,
It is fun.
and you've had, I mean, there's been plenty of times. Like I think the initial Equestria Girls video, you had did the like Attack on Titan like PMV
Oh,
edit,
yeah.
and that was, I mean, that's a good example. It came out fantastic, and it made me laugh. I know that's for sure.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I did weird continuity things I just completely dismissed where I'm like, some weird thing with George R. R. Martin, like, with I don't even know. There's some weird jokes I had back in the day in, like, 2014 for British React, and then I came back to it. I am the king of completely ignored projects.
I think that's fair for a lot of us actually. So to stay kind of on that topic a little bit, we have, of course, came a long way. Ponies have been around for quite a while now. Being a part of the group that you did, I would say that a lot of the people that you were around and making content around at that time um, really have went from either just starting out or fairly amateur, and in some cases semi-professional, but they've blossomed into such bigger um, identities. They became uh, not only bigger in their following, but they've really personified their brand or identity and how they represent themselves. I don't know
Mhm.
if you have any thoughts onto that. I know you're a good example of that yourself, but just being
Thank
able
you.
to watch all of these people grow, it must be incredible.
It is interesting because, like, I remember in the mid-2010s where a lot of people in the like, 'cause 2012 was, like, cloud nine. 2013 was this. I can see how the fandom was becoming more familiar with itself,
Hmm.
well, and you're starting to see the rise of horse, which I've always got to okay.
Funny name.
And then there's egos and there are divas, and then you have just authentic creators who are just there for fun. Or it's just what happened. It's never this behavior is never exclusive to just one group. It's just human nature.
Sure.
So it's inevitable, no matter what. No matter if there's a group forming, this will happen most likely, especially if it's a larger group of people. And it was a hell of a thing to see. So seeing like because our group, my very good group of friends, we don't have a common thread outside of just loving on each other. Like we just enjoy each other's company, keep it real. And it's not like we all are animators or musicians or fanfic writers. No, common thread was we just liked each other, and that was enough. And it holds true. It was a good foundation. So, like seeing Jax Blade, break a 500,000 subscribers and continue on with his exercise videos. Proud of him, love him, still talk to him weekly. Ray's continue on with his channel, which his channel has always been more of an outlet for like a hobby,
Hmm.
for creative outlets. He has fun with that. Gabe, of course, soared where he broke 4 million subscribers, became a monster of a channel. And then you got folks even outside the group who have found success. And not to say that by the metric of numbers, that's what defines success, because other folks can find fulfillment in other ways
Certainly.
that are a bit more nebulous to quantify. But like Tombstone, I mean, that guy's a meme, and you got Silverhound working with like doing songs related to the Hasbin Hotel and
Hmm.
Hell of a Boss fandom. And I don't know, it's neat because I see the Brony fandom as like a boot camp, and also a bit of a microcosm of creativity where it's like, wow, this I've never seen such a small group pack such a punt. Like, it's insane. I mean, I've
Hmm.
never how many other fandoms can you point to and say, "Oh, like you launched a convention. No, not just one. We launched, still keep going. And I know you got like Star Trek and furries and whatever who do their conventions and they'll keep doing their cons. But My Little Pony is such a wild IP, like to
Mhm.
launch that, because like furries are, it's like a larger group. So the larger the group, the more like more likely there'll be more con for it. Same thing with Star Wars. But ponies are so like it's like a very niche like thing, and yet the fandom was so just so well equipped and well and so passionate and so had such great follow through that it's like yeah, it manifests with tons of cons. So I guess that's also a credit to all the folks who participate in the fandom and still do.
Of
Where it's like
course.
they go off to succeed with their channel because they're like, okay, cool. I got the chops to make content and be talented. I'm going to keep going with it. I'm proud of them. Get some really amazing people to come from this experience and how their journeys continue.
Yeah, well said. And I can't point a finger at any other group in particular that has had quite the explosive potential that I've seen within the pony community. It is very shocking,
It is.
and
It
wonderful.
is.
Um, and just speaking on content a little bit more, I know you have a lot of things going on right now outside of Pony, and still there are some things that you do that are tied into Pony. Um,
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I would love to give you an opportunity to speak on some of what you have going on now for the people who might not have followed your content as it transitioned over into what you're focusing on at the moment.
So for those who don't know, I mean, my name is Saberspark, and I have a YouTube channel where I just do animation reviews and video essays, and I got some. Like, I did a reanimation project for this year animated Promised Land last year. I was the lead on the project, but I was like, I was honored to have all these artists and animators volunteer their time to help reanimate this obscure, bizarre, terrible, but beloved animated film. And I have a thing called Drunk Recap where I get drunk, my girlfriend, well, she's sober, I'm drunk, take that audio and then have it drawings and my drunk little avatar put over the audio, kind of in the same vein as Drunk History, where I recap a movie or a series or something. That's a fun project and a bit more unique, not as derivative as talking about something, but actually making something. Well, I guess I am talking about something still, but yeah, I just am kind of I'm blessed. I'm insanely lucky and blessed to do what I do and have the opportunity to make content and insanely honored and humbled to have supporters to the degree that I have.
Of course.
So, and it wouldn't be possible without the Brony journey, and which is why I mean, I go up to bat for bronies every single time. I, I know that it's not a perfect fandom because perfection doesn't exist, period. But, by and large, like, to go to these cons and see them raise, like, 20,000 dollars for charity, I'm like, "That's amazing." I don't know. The majority of these people are very good and loving and giving and kind
Mhm.
and silly and goofy and weird and and socially awkward, but just at the core of it, I'm like, "I love these people." This is what I've never seen anything like it, and it's very, dear to me, and that's why I keep doing pony cons. Like, I don't really do pony content anymore, but I definitely go to pony cons, and it feels like home. It's like I'm going to a family reunion.
Heck yeah. I think the family reunion thing is a pretty common feeling a lot of us have.
Mhm.
That's awesome. When you go to these conventions, I know back in the day, I know you still do the panels and you still do the content with Race Best. Have you done any? Have you hosted any charity auctions or anything recently?
Not recently, because of COVID, but,
Wow.
as far as, like, going to these cons in, like, the late 2010s, like, Race and I, our entire philosophy going to these cons is, like, just how can we help? Because we don't go there to have our ego stroked, like, we don't. We genuinely don't. We love to go there and put on a show and make sure that we're doing what we can to help folks to enhance their time there. Whether it's our silly panels or our Who's Line panel with our improv, whether it's like, "Can you MC a concert?" And we're like, "Sure." "Can you host a charity auction?" "Sure." Though Dusty Cat and, oh gosh, I'm blanking on her. I should know her name. I looked at her tweets this morning on my newsfeed. It was there. She's British.
Well, that
Oh, I
that narrows it down.
narrows it down. But what was there? It's like the little synapses are firing back and forth, where it's there. But there are some other folks who've kind of taken the reins, no pun intended, when it comes to charity auctions and hosting it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Grace and I, we pride ourselves on our flexibility and how we can pivot. So just put us where we can, and we'll go to work. You need us to hand out hors d'oeuvres? Fine. Don't be surprised if there's some missing on the plate when we offer them. But
Mhm.
we're just there to have a good time, and it's also amusing and fun to us. Not amusing in the sense of like, oh, look how weird they are, but more of oh my god, this is such a human experience. Let's go. That's how we feel.
Yeah. And that's I mean, that's the way to be about it. Love and just having a good time.
Full papers, fully. That's the name.
I'm glad you
Full
finally
papers.
figured that out. That's good.
Yep.
Yeah,
Like
they're
it's like
awesome.
it's
Um,
there.
I mean, speaking about going to cons and loving those so much and just really being there to be there for the con. Um, uh, there was a time I don't remember the year, but I was at and I've narrowed it down with race. I'm almost positive it was Midwest Brony Fest, and I was
Mhm.
coming out of an interview with Michelle and Gabe, and I had a staff that was going to put me in contact with you guys. And they were like, I'm sorry, but at the moment, we can't find them. And I was like, what do you mean you can't find them? I would love to be able to speak with them. I'm on a tight schedule. What can I do to make that happen? And they're like, no, I mean, we literally like, we can't find them anywhere. And I was like,
Yeah, yeah.
all right,
We're busy
what,
watching a movie.
watching
So
Zootopia, if I
so I
understand
gotta
correctly.
say, let me just say real
Mm-hmm.
fast
All right.
that that was one of those Midwest Bernie Fest was a weird
Yeah,
and there are some behind the scenes things that I will leave out
of course.
because I but all in all, typically Race and I can sync up with the folks who run these cons. And there were some communication issues with the leadership there. And it got to the point where yeah, there's some unpleasant moments. And
Sure.
and also quite a fog of war where it's like, what's our schedule? What's happening? And at the moment, during that day, we were like, well, there's nothing scheduled for us. Like, we're just basically free for like 3 to 4 hours. And Reyes, who was on quite the Zootopia binge
Mm,
at the time,
at the time.
but at the time, it has not waned since. But he's like, let's go watch Zootopia. And it's like, why the hell not? If this con, if they have nothing for us to do, and there's nothing for us to do until later in the day, I guess we can go. And lo and behold, when we got out of out of the film, we were like, "Oh shoot!" Apparently, folks are trying to get a hold of it. So it's one of those things where I'm not trying to deflect blame. I think in hindsight, it would have been a bit more prudent for us to stay on site, even if there wasn't anything required of us at the moment. But also, I will at least defend ourselves, saying that we had a schedule and it was so. That's just how things transpired.
Yeah.
But, that was Midwest Bernie Fest was an interesting con. I love the barbecue, though. That was wonderful. And we
Yeah.
also saw a bunch of ants fighting on a we saw a bunch of ants fighting outside. We're like, "Whoa, the ants are at war!" Like,
I think you got that
and
on
we
video
sat
too. That was fun.
we did. It was like 20 minutes of us just being like, "We're gonna watch this. Who's gonna win?"
That's a lot of fun, and I don't mean to put you on blast or anything. I think for everybody, especially who was there, they know some of the nuance of what was going on at that convention, and I mean those things happen. It is what it is. But I thought that was a kind of little funny personal experience I had and got to witness you guys take part in. Was I mean it was something else for sure.
That
Zootopia.
was probably that was like I feel like out of all the different times we've been going to cons for like over a decade, and we've been to like so many of them. I well over 30, most likely more. And that's like the one time where we inadvertently dropped the ball. And but for every other con, like we're typically very tight with cons,
Hmm.
and we're on actual like a friend basis with like con chairs and staff, and it's easy. It doesn't come from a place of nepotism, but more of just familiarity, where it's like we know how it goes. Where it's like, hey, Charlie from Winnie City, or hey, Scott from Everfree, like put us to work. What can we do? And it's like bam, 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 we're
Heck yeah,
done. Also, it helps that they have our numbers too. We're like, can you do a charity auction? Can you MC? Can you go to this community meet and greet? Can you do autographs? And it's like, yep, 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 that's totally fine. Let's go. So, but
heck
that
yeah.
the Zootopia won out that day apparently.
Oh my goodness, I had to set a limit on Race's conversation with the Zootopia stuff. We had to make sure that there was something established because I didn't want. I knew the whole conversation would translate over to Zootopia, and that's not good for the pony content.
Sure, I'm sure he had things on
Uh,
his mind. That
but
story.
But anything that's or anybody rather who goes to the cons and knows your guys' content knows that you're fantastic to be around when those are taking place, and you guys are just the life of the party a lot of the times.
Yeah,
I can speak from
the
personal experience, and I'm sure others. If we ever see you in an elevator somewhere, which that seems to be the place you usually run into people for whatever reason, say hi,
yeah.
and you guys are more than willing to say hi back and more than friendly. Um,
Oh,
which isn't always the case for a lot of people, but certainly the case. Certainly the case here.
Race is an extrovert, like probably the most insane extrovert I've ever met. Where a lot of folk, I'm a hybrid. I'm a hybrid extrovert introvert, where it's like I can summon my energy and be like, this is Super Saiyan 2
Yeah.
extrovert on stage. I can do it for an hour. Or Kaioken, where it's like I can keep going for like, I can just temporarily, but as soon as it's over, like introvert, I need to rest. Race is the kind of guy who would wake up at a convention, 9 a.m., energy there, got his camera, and is shaking hands with folks, being silly, bubbly personality, goes on stage for the next 7 hours, does 4 panels, and then it's like, "Are you tired?" He's like, "Nope, I'm gonna go to the concert and go jump in the audience for the next 5 hours." I'm like, "Dude, you're an animal. Like, how, where you feed on this." And versus me, where I'm like, "Okay, I need to take an hour to just kind of be by myself because I need that, and then I'll bounce back." Yeah, he's an animal. Homeboy
Heck
is
yeah.
an extraordinary people person.
That's awesome. And it fits great with the type of content he does. I mean, kind of got to be there, especially for the blogs. It makes it a lot better.
That's his creative strength. He's very much so a person.
So I'm not sure how we're looking on time here, but I think we might be moving into the later half of this. Seems about right. Um, so I know you had mentioned a little bit about your YouTube career and what you have going on there. I would like to bring up the semi perfect podcast though, because I know that's something that you do consistently, and you engage with in this case, staying on the subject of race here. And for the people who don't know about that, might be interested to see that you guys do have something going on, and whether or not it's pony specific content, it still involves both of you guys and Sarah in Race's case as well.
Yeah. So it's a podcast called Semi Perfect Podcast. It was launched 2015. It was something where I went out to California and hung out with Race and Sarah for like a week. And when I was out there, we were spitballing this idea of like doing a podcast, because around that time I was done with another podcast that I wrapped up with my buddy Paleo, who was like my like lasting relationship I've had from the Brony stuff. I met him, I think it was something in like 2011, and we've been best friends ever since. But we had a podcast called Brony Breakdown that we basically set the pasture, and I found myself free time. And Reyes and Sarah and I are like, well, let's do our own podcast, and we launched that, and it grew over time where we brought on other friends from our friend group. And at the moment, it's like 8 or so people in this podcast, which is a lot. It's a lot. So, typically, you don't want that many folks, but it would be just a podcast. We're just, I mean, the name of it's what we call it's very indicative of how it goes down. Where it's like semi, and we talk about pony stuff when it pops up. If there's not pony stuff, we just shoot the breeze about other comings and goings in our life, movies, shows, games, trendy topics, and nice positive energy. And Race and Sarah are both machines as well when it comes to the logistics of just running a show. They're very consistent, which is a big strength when it comes to making content, just being persistent with how you
Mm-hmm.
keep it going. So I kind of it took more of a side role over the years, where Race and Sarah are more of the ringleaders, but which is nice because my hands are full with other content. And yeah, but still, it's just nice to pop up. Like I think it was 2 days ago we had one, and it was just on the podcast and talk and shoot the breeze. And it's fun. I like it.
Heck yeah. While we got a moment here, I'd like to talk a little bit about Gen 5 because that's very popular for everybody in the fandom at the moment, very topical. We just had last night, or I'm sorry, yesterday morning, I believe it was, the Tell Your Tale, the little YouTube shorts
Oh
they're doing
yeah,
air.
yeah.
Have you got a chance? Have you watched those by chance?
I watched one. I
Oh, good.
watched one so far. It was
Oh,
someone with Pip and Zip with like them packing up and leaving. I guess
yeah.
Clouddale 2.0. And I, I mean, I guess I know enough about the machine content making machine
Mm-hmm.
that is YouTube and how like Milo Bunny has a massive presence on YouTube and Hasbro's smart enough to identify it. Hence these shorts. They did the same thing with Pony Life, kind of. And it's like, yeah, it's just it's simple and cute and folks need to calm down where it's like it's not the official G5 series.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still a little bit worried about that. I hope it's good. Because the movie definitely set a high bar
Mm-hmm.
with the caliber of its animation and its voice actors.
Yeah.
But these shorts, though, I'm like they're cute. I mean, the legs are a bit weird and look a bit stiff. And I saw some folks compare it to fingers, and I'm like, oh no, you ruined it. But I still enjoyed it. I'm like, it's cute. It's innocuous enough to where it doesn't bother me. Doesn't make me stand up and clap for it either. I'm just, this is cute. It's fine.
Yeah. And their faces at profile to me look a little wonky, but I mean,
Yeah,
very cute,
got
and it's
that
nice. I mean,
chin.
I think especially, oh god, especially with the dips that we have in Pony. I think anytime we start getting more content, that that's a little exciting for everybody. So that's awesome, and to know that they're putting that much effort into to making content for Gen 5 means a lot.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
and we have it
I mean,
right around the corner.
gosh, like, I mean, it's maybe this is a weird compare and contrast, but I watched that new Fairly Odd Parents reboot, and
Mm-hmm.
it's live action with a few animated characters who are
Mm-hmm.
interacting with live action people, and I'm like, this does not look good. But then
Yeah.
I watched this Milo Pony short for free on YouTube, and I'm like, this looks infinitely better. I mean, there are folks who don't work for giant companies who make more competent animated stuff, movie shows, whatever, shorts. And I'm just watching them, tell your tale. I'm like, that looks better than the
Mm.
actual series that Fairly Odd Parents reboot and it was based on the animated series and they dropped the ball and it's just kind of embarrassing. Sorry, I digress. I was just thinking about that yesterday though.
No, I mean that's extremely topical. I only just found out about it yesterday, and I saw a little clip, and I was like, "Oh goodness." I didn't even know what to say other than just wow. I wish them the best. I hope they're able to work things out. I mean, obviously there's people involved with it. I'm sure they care a lot about what they're doing. So, um,
Yeah,
but it's is Tara in that at all?
no.
No, they have a new Timmy. Oh, right, it's live action.
It's not even Timmy. Timmy's like started off with him like he's in college and he gave his fairies Cosmo and Wanda, who are still voiced by the same actor or voice
Awesome.
actors. He gave them to his cousin Vivian because she's miserable. And
Oh,
go figure.
okay.
Do you do you mind if I use the bathroom real fast? I've had like 3 cups of water. Give me
Absolutely.
1 second.
Yeah, we'll take a little
I'll be
break
right
here
back.
at the end, or we might go ahead and figure it out, or go ahead and get that done now. I was just gonna do a brief intro. We
Could
were
you
gonna
see me shitting, by the way? Sorry, I just
what?
realized that my fish eyes lens with the door is a crack. Could you see it?
No, I could not. Believe you me, I would have addressed that immediately the second you got back.
No, as soon as I sat down, my heart sank, and I'm like, hold on, because I so wouldn't that be the headline interview? See, there's your thumbnail. Sorry, I have to be point blank when it comes to these things. So I'm like, I
Fair.
will proudly be awkward up front just to make sure I'm not about to destroy someone's day.
No, that's
My
wonderful. Um,
no, I can move the camera and go
Goodness
back if you want another
gracious.
shot. If you
I
let
mean,
me
that would
know.
make a really good thumbnail.
Would be like,
Um,
what's Saberspark's thoughts on the fandom? Well, let me go take a shit and show you. No, sorry.
no, that's great.
Well,
I love that.
keep this in the
I
interview.
wish I could
Keep this.
include that. That would be great. Um, I will. So you have been doing the Who's Line panels. Or actually, I should probably address that you left there for a moment because I'm going to cut that out entirely.
I use the bathroom.
Mm,
Um, the Who's Line panels.
yeah.
Yeah, they been doing that for I'd say since 2013. So it's been a moment. And it's funny because it started off with us going to a convention called Fiesta Equestria, and there was a Who's Line panel there that caught our attention. And we went there as attendees to watch, and they were asking, like the folks on stage were like, "Hey, can we need some guests or just some volunteers?" And I forget, I'm pretty sure it was some con staff who are like, "Can you go up there and act like idiots with these folks?" And we're like, "Always." And we went up there with myself, Race, and our buddy Henry, and we were just guests for a few games, and we loved it. And then there was another convention where there was a who was I think it was BronyCon 2013, and they also asked us to join. Though I think we were like, I think they were like an improv team A and we're improv team B. And then it got to the point where it was so inconsistent with these cons, where Race and I found ourselves going to more cons than these folks who were hosting these Who's Lines, which were like, because I've been told that these Who's Line panels, like anime cons did it long before, furry cons did it too. So we're like, yeah, it's kind of like one of those like things, ideas where it's like not anybody has a copyright or a trademark on cosplay panels or voice actor panels or fanfic reading panels. So we're like, let's do our own Who's Line. That way it's a bit more intimate, or not intimate, that's the wrong term. A bit more plans, which sounds counterintuitive to on the spot improv, but we had friends who would be like, "Hey, here's the content. We need context though." As in, here are 6 games we want to do on stage. Can you fill the blanks with prompts and kind of uh crowdsource? No, not crowdsource. Just kind of like ask our Twitter followers and YouTube followers for suggestions, and it
Sure.
worked out great, and we just kept rolling with it ever since. We got a Who's Line next week, and it's something where, and we've seen people from like the previous Who's Line panels who are like, come join us and be a guest in a game, because I never want to get the impression that we took it away from folks, because we've been to cons where there's another Who's Line panel going on, and we're like, that's awesome. Like we never want to be mic hogs, but at the same time, at that moment, because we had all these folks back in like 2013 who were like, "Hey, where's the Who's Line panel?" And we're like, "Do you want to see one?" And they're like, "Yes." And we're like, "Oh, okay." And we
Yeah.
need a plan for that time, and that's where that came from.
I mean, they were a heck of a lot of fun to watch. I could only imagine how fun they are to do.
When you're on stage doing it, and you sit down after the game, you're like, no one left.
Mhm.
But the thing is, you're so like focused on the game that you can't really hear the audience. And I'll ask my friends, I'll be like, I have friends in the audience, and I'm like, did anybody laugh? Did anybody laugh? And they're like, oh yeah, people laughed. I'm like, okay. Like I just dead air is the ultimate enemy. You got to keep it going. It's all about energy. It's all
Yeah.
about just keep moving and moving and have fun. Even if you don't think it's funny, it's better than dead air. Dead air is the enemy. It cannot win.
Heck yeah. And I mean, it's quite an exercise for sure.
Hmm.
So to kind of wrap things up on a positive note, I might be a little facetious when I say that. I had discussed something with Race, and I should have saved it for his interview as well because it's such a genuine thing, and I had ruined it by discussing it with him. But in your case, I had it. I would like to briefly talk about how I had found out about your guys' content and what it meant to me starting out in the community, if that's all right with you.
Of course.
Awesome. So, uh, like many people in the pony fandom, especially starting out during then, it was 2011, 2012 when I first got into the fandom, and pony was very topical. Anything that I could find, especially being a kid and being home all day, I had all this extra time to sit around and just watch YouTube. And um, one of the things that I had found pretty early on was Bronies React. I had watched it from the first episode as it aired,
Hmm.
and thereon. Moreover, I had actually gotten pretty big into the vlogs as well. Uh, I think I'm not sure if I had mentioned it here, but for quite a while when I was unable to go to cons, I was too young for that sort of thing. Being able to watch those blogs, I got to feel like I was kind of a part of that. Um,
No.
And a little bit later on, as I had mentioned, I had had a lot of difficulty in my personal life, found myself in a lot of unfortunate circumstances, even was homeless for quite a while. And there's one memory that stuck out to me, and I think about quite a bit actually, where I was outside of a local motel. I had just gotten into college. It was about a week before I would actually be starting, and I was cleaning rooms at that hotel so I would have a place to stay for the night. I would clean throughout the day. And I remember sitting out in front of the hotel and watching a vlog of you guys at like the world's biggest mall. I think it might have been like Mall
Mhm.
of America or something like that.
Correct.
And
You're right.
I loved it to death. And in my head, as I was watching these videos and watching this content, um, I would think one day I want to be like those guys. I want to have fun with them. I want to, or like them. I want to have I want to be able to go to conventions. I want to be able to make content that's meaningful to people and that people can relate to. And that's always been such a big inspiration to me. And I think about that time
Oh,
quite a bit, um, especially because of what I was going through at the time. I don't think that's something I'll ever forget about.
that's special. Like, thank you for sharing it with us. It's surreal, you know? You never know whose lives might be touched from what we put out there. Not from a sense of like us congratulating ourselves, but just understanding how the internet and how far reaching it can
Hmm.
be, and also on a micro level how it can impact a person. Like, I remember when I was in college, and also in late high school and college, where I was like, I want to go to these World of Warcraft conventions and go to BlizzCon because I was like playing Warcraft in a guild, and they were going to these cons, and I'm like, I'll never have fun. I'll never go to these cons and have fun, and I never went. But then after 2012, I went to pony conventions, which was a much more ideal fit. And
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know. You never know. I guess the ripple effects of our actions, and I'm honored, that you've shared this story with us. And I can only imagine Ray's had the biggest smile on his face when you shared that with him. So yeah, thank you. That's really sweet of you to share that, and we're honored that we could ever have any kind of positive impact on a person inadvertently, of course. And
Of course.
I don't know, it's a just surreal. So thank you.
Of course. Yeah, it meant a lot to me, and I'm sure it continues to mean a lot to plenty of others as well. But now, almost
Um,
10 years later, to be able to sit down here and speak with you, that's an awesome moment for me as well, because I really appreciate the opportunity and that you've given both me and Equestria Daily. That means a lot to all of us.
oh well, the feelings mutual. I feel like Equestria Daily early on gave me a springboard as well. So it's just, I don't know, people helping out people, being good to each other. It's a good feeling.
Heck yeah. That's all about this community is being transparent and helping one another. Nothing but love to go
I agree.
around.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Heck yeah. Well, if you'd like, we can go ahead and wrap it up here.
Yeah, I think that works just fine.
Heck yeah. Well, thank you very much for spending some time with me here. We really appreciate it. I wish you the best in everything that you're going to be doing moving forward. You have some amazing content going, and I know I'm not speaking just for myself when I say that you have a lot of people that are really hoping the best for you, and I can't wait to see what you're going to do next.
Thank you, Alistair. Thank you for having me. You were a delight. Wonderful host. And best of luck, and my greatest wishes to you as well.
Thank you very much, man. Have a great day, guys. Thank you for stopping by. Check back next week, and we'll have another video for you. Until then.